Welcome back to our YouTube channel, guys. My name's Ardil and today's video is a sound off episode where we compare factory equipment against aftermarket components and compare the two together. Today's video is all about the components inside the VW Amarok and we're going through everything in a load of detail. So make sure you guys stay right to the very end and hit that subscribe button. Let's go. But before we get on to today's video, make sure you guys at home have subscribed to our YouTube channel because we've got a massive competition live on our channel at the moment. We're giving away a brand new PlayStation 5 as well as an Audison amplifier. All the details are in the description below. However, let's get on with today's video. So what's the actual purpose of showing you guys these videos? When you tick that upgrade box or when you're buying any vehicle, you have no idea what you're actually buying in terms of the speakers. All you know is a certain number of speakers potentially. What we compare in these videos is the weight difference between stock and aftermarket components. However, that doesn't always give you a perfect indication of actual quality, but it gives you a good idea. So what we actually talk about is the actual components themselves and give you a load more detail about the systems themselves. So let's start off with actually weighing the factory tweeter. So that weighs in at 55 grams. And now alongside the Hertzmeter Legend, which are upgrading, that comes in at 110 grams. So a big difference there. But what have we actually learned from that? So we've got the factory tweeter, and obviously what I want to talk to you about is a couple of key things. The actual housing itself is quite a large, quite a dense plastic that actually allows for quite a lot of the weight. Obviously you saw that it was weighing in there. It's quite a lot of weight from the actual just plastic itself, but also the actual cable itself that you've got here is very thin and small. There's a very limited amount of power we can actually send from factory to this tweeter. However, on the Hertzmeter Legend range, we did weigh this with the actual adapter that we're using as well. So this is a custom 3D printed adapter that will actually sit into the stock location. But what we've also got here, so that was also added on to the weight there, but you've also got a far better quality cable here, allowing more power to actually be run to the components. Over now to the magnets themselves. So the magnet on this is a ferrite magnet. Over onto the Hertzmeter Legend, it's a neodymium magnet. So what's the difference there? The ferrite magnet is naturally magnetic. However, the neodymium magnet is a far more powerful designed, man-made, but using rare earth metals to actually magnetize the speaker itself. The performance of it has a smaller form factor over a ferrite magnet, but still providing far more power and ability to perform above and beyond a ferrite magnet. But obviously, as you can see, the magnet size on the back of the tweeter on the Hertzmeter Legend range is far bigger than the actual ferrite magnet on the factory one. So even though it has a smaller form factor, it's still a lot bigger, which obviously you can see in the weight, but obviously you'll hear in the actual performance of the component itself. The actual cone design as well, this features a Teflon cone, phenomenal bit of kit. Hertz use a Teflon cone across a lot of other speakers as well. A really nice way of actually building a component. The other thing is the actual design of the front of the component. The actual Hertzmeter Legend has these bars across. They're not just cosmetic. These are engineered for actual carry sound waves across the vehicle to perform inch perfectly. So now moving on to the actual woofers inside the front doors. So we've got the factory one here. This weighs in at 568 grams. And then the Hertzmeter Legend 6.5 inch driver weighing in at 1,276 grams. So again, what's the difference? So comparing the two components side by side now, starting off with the actual cone design. We've got a paper cone design on the factory component, but on the actual Hertzmeter Legend driver, you've got a pressed pulp cone with cotton fiber design, but also one thing to really talk about is actually the excursion of the cone itself. So how much the cone is actually moving to provide a lot more mid-bass in the vehicle. The way the factory component is designed is a very shallow cone, but also this rollover design is designed to perform far better, and it provides a lot of mid-bass into the vehicle. The other thing is the actual metal framework that this actually has over the plastic design on the factory, again providing a lot more strength onto the actual component, allowing it to push a lot harder, a lot further than the factory one. And the other thing is then obviously the magnets themselves. The factory component has a ferrite magnet on the back of it. As you guys know, not a very powerful magnet, but also obviously with the size of it and design of the component, not going to perform very well. In terms of the Hertzmeter Legend component, we've got a neodymium magnet, which actually has a far greater power to weight ratio than a ferrite magnet, but also the actual component size difference is actually larger than the one that you get from stock as well. So not only are you getting a better magnet, you're also getting a larger magnet as well. We're obviously providing far more mid-bass into the vehicle. Last but not least, we're actually going to be talking about the rear speakers and comparing them against each other. We've got the factory coaxial speaker, and that weighs in at 439 grams. Weighing in now the Hertz Centro Pro, that's at 1,126 grams, and that again is a coaxial design. So what actually is the differences between this coaxial design over the Hertz Centro one? So actually comparing the actual design of the components themselves, the reason why I called this a coaxial speaker is actually the design of the cone itself. You will see there is a physical difference in a look of the component. So what actually is this component trying to mimic? This is trying to mimic this basically. This is a coaxial design where you've got a tweeter, which is a completely separate component into the actual cone design itself. However, this is actually just a paper cone design that's designed to kind of mimic higher frequencies. So as that cone moves backwards and forwards, that's trying to replicate higher frequencies, but it's never going to deliver what a proper coaxial speaker does. Again, on the magnet side of things, we've actually got a nice comparison here because the Hertz Centro range is actually a lower spec range than the Hertz Mie Legend because we're using it as rear fill. What we're actually comparing now is actually two ferrite magnets. So even the Hertz range do still use ferrite magnets inside this actual design, but you can see by the physical form factor, it's far, far larger. But also what we've got is the tweeter in here. Obviously, this is just a paper cone design. It's not got any magnetism into that. It's not a separate component. It's literally just a way of mimicking sound. This has actually got a neodymium magnet built into the tweeter because it's a separate component built into the design of the actual speaker itself. So it's going to provide far, far better higher frequencies rather than trying something that mimics it. But also the actual woofer itself, even with a ferrite magnet, is going to perform so much better than the stock system. Obviously the cone design as well, we're not using paper cone here. It is a really, really phenomenal difference that you get. Obviously weight difference you've seen, but also the actual design, and that's what we want to talk about. For audio speakers from factory are trying to mimic what can actually be replicated, because this is a far more expensive way of actually creating a greater sound in the vehicle, but they're not spending the money on it, and that's what you're spending your money on. So it's well worth considering the upgrade like we're showing you today. So we're wrapped up here on today's video. You've seen what you get from stock compared to what we're actually upgrading the system to. Hopefully you've learned a little bit more about what actually you are buying and spending your money on. So it's well worth now looking at upgrades. If you're interested in something like this, get in touch with us, drop us a message on any of our social media channels. We're more than happy to go through everything in a load of detail with you and book that audio consultation so we can sit down and design spec, and then we'll install your new sound system. But thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, but also remember to like and share the video with friends and family. We look forward to seeing you next time.